Hi, I'm Erdrick the Chocobro, and ever since I've been a little kid, my parents have paid a lot of attention as to which games they will and will not let me play. As a result, one of my favorite games when I was younger was the Kirby series, because my parents probably just saw the cute little pink puffball flying around and probably not that he was murdering every living thing in sight and stealing their powers. Anyways, to celebrate Kirby's 20th birthday, I want to look back at some of the old games. And this won't really be a countdown, but kind of a retrospective. I'll be looking back at the retro Kirby games and talk about those moments that really stuck with you. Let's start with the first game, Kirby's Dream Land. Now the first thing that stands out to anyone if it's their first Kirby game is Kirby's design. I thought it was cool, funny, and kinda cute. Apparently, Hal made Kirby's original sprite wanting the closest thing to a blank slate as possible. The reason behind this was that once they had access to better technology, they could make a more detailed character while staying faithful to the original games. Way to follow through with that, guys. This game also introduced Kirby usuals such as Wispy Woods and King Dedede, as well as Kirby's inhaling powers. However, there's a catch. You cannot steal enemies' powers. And without a gimmick like in Mass Attack, it's kind of a drag, to be honest. Kirby's Adventure had Kirby show off his copy abilities in pink hue for the first time. Yes, the box art for Kirby's Dream Land made him white. Probably because pink wouldn't have sat well with the target audience at the time. I actually remember just going around and finding new powers just so I could see those little sprites at the bottom of the screen. Oh yeah, and it also has Meta Knight's first appearance as an easy boss in one stage? Well, that was a bit disappointing. For what he would later become, that was quite lackluster indeed, but hey, back in the day, he still left a huge impact on you. Kinda like the equivalent of the Koopalings from Super Mario Bros. 3. Despite having a similar name to the first game, Kirby's Dream Land 2 was a lot more like Kirby's Adventure, but for some reason given the Dream Land title. I can only imagine what went on at Nintendo when this happened. You have to call it Kirby's Dream Land! But sir, it's so much more like Kirby's Adventure. Couldn't we just change the name No! All Game Boy spin-offs need to have land in their name. Because Mario! Not only was this the famous Dark Matter's first appearance, but Kirby's friends also came in and lent a hand. You have Rick the Hamster, who's pretty much just Rambi the Rhino, Coo the Owl, who allows you to fly better without having to get the bird power up, and now we have Kine, who helps Kirby get through tough currents. I've got you now, Kirby. How do you like being eaten yourself? I can't swallow you, Kirby. No! And here we have the fan favorite Kirby Superstar. Though I personally like its remake better, this classic game contains some of the first things that I think about when I think of Kirby. Not only did it have your typical swallowing fools and taking their powers, but it also had some cool mini-games. One in which you try to eat more than King Dedede. Keep in mind, this was a time before all the glory of games like Canvas Curse and Air Ride, Tilt and Tumble, so this was the closest thing we had to a Kirby spin-off with its 8 games in one. Kirby's Dream Land 3 is a game that's constantly overlooked. Why? I have no idea. I mean, you'd think its legacy as being the last first-party game ever released on Super Nintendo would grab more attention, but apparently not. I mean, this is easily the funnest of the Dreamland games, not counting Nightmare in Dreamland. And it introduced Gooey. If Kirby takes a square out of his life meter, he can call upon Gooey, or as I call him, the Dark Matter Ditto, to lend him a hand. That's right, Gooey is made of dark matter and has the same powers as Kirby. As expected, he's controlled by player 2. Or the computer. Speaking of allies, you still have Rick, Coo, and Kine, but this game doubles the partner idea with 3 new allies. Meet Nago, the triple jumping cat. She's apparently a lot like me, as she wants another Tilt and Tumble game. However, unlike me, she's so desperate she's willing to roll Kirby around everywhere to get the experience. Isn't she afraid he'll eat her? This is Pitch. When Kirby carries him, he runs and soars through the air like he's on Shine Spark juice. Lastly, we have Choo Choo. Now, I've made jokes about Kirby looking like Ditto in the past, but god damn it, they didn't even try. You get a Ditto, and you give him a bow, and you got a new character. Last thing I want to talk about are these graphics. They are amazing. I mean, Jesus Christ, this is a Super NES game, yet it looks like 32-bit. I gotta say, those textures are really nice too. For a series called Kirby's Dream Land, it's surprising that it took so long for a game in the series to look actually, dreamy. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Kirby's Dream Course, the first Kirby spin-off I've ever played. What do you do in this game? Well, you kinda knock Kirby around into enemies, and when there's only one enemy left, he turns into a golf hole and you have to knock him in. Yeah, this game's kind of boring. At least you still have your power-ups like Stone and UFO. Lastly, we have the legendary Crystal Shards game. Now, the first memory, if you can call it that I have of this game is how I finally found which Kirby ability I wanted to have the most. If I sharded diamonds on command, and not only would I be rich, I could realize my lifelong dream of finally being decent at Minecraft. If you look at this game, you'll realize it isn't really a traditional Kirby platformer, but more of what I like to call a PS1 platformer. What is a PS1 platformer, you ask? Well, basically it's a 2D platformer in which your character moves on a set path, but the foreground moves along the background, making a more believable world. If you still don't understand what I'm talking about, just look at some of those 2D PS1 games like Klonoa Door to Phantom Isle. This game's famous for allowing you to customize and copy different copy abilities together to create a badass Darth Maul saber. I think this is actually how they got the concept of the drill arm from Kid Icarus Uprising. One thing I don't like about this game is that despite not taking place on Popstar, there's things from Dreamland like Wispy Woods that come out every so often. Another thing is, I remember enjoying this game a lot more when I was little. It's a thing I've been noticing with many N64 games. While there are more than enough games that will probably always be fun, other good games stand the test of time worse than certain NES games, for example. When was the last time you craved a game of GoldenEye? But this game is still fun. Look, it's Kirby, and he's floating, and oh my god, Flame Sword! So those were some of my Kirby memories. Now, there are some games that I didn't go over, like Tilt and Tumble, which I played for the first time like 2 years ago. So if there are some games that you hoped would be on here but weren't, I apologize. Just let me know in the comments and I probably will play them. Until then, I'm Erdrick the Chocobro, and I say, Fawful's Minion, we really need another Kirby countdown.